everyone, this is Viktoria Tocca. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about how to use your social media as an independent artist, or how to build your personal brand through social media. And to get some extra help, I have brought along two incredible independent artists, Mary-Jess and Joanna Forest.
So welcome back, Joanna Forest and Mary-Jess. Today we are going to go a bit more in depth when it comes to social media and how to work social media as an independent artist, or if you want to build your brand as an artist, as a musical theater performer. And hopefully you'll get some good pointers and new ideas. There are a million things we could say about this and a million ways to do it. But since all three of us have tried and have done this for quite a while on several different platforms, I think that we have some good advice and things to tell you. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Hello.
Happy to be here.
So what are the social media platforms that you have used the most to connect with your fans, or use to build your own brand as a singer? Mary-Jess, what do you say?
For me, the main one is definitely Facebook, because with classical crossover, we tend to have somewhat of an older audience sometimes. So Facebook is definitely the place where most of my supporters and fans hang out. And that's the thing to remember. I feel like a very important thing to say, first of all, before we get stuck into all the depths of social media, is that it can be overwhelming. But don't worry, because it doesn't have to be. If your fans are mainly on a certain platform, put all your energy into that platform. And then with the other ones, have them as show reels. So for example, if you've got your fans on Facebook and they don't really use Instagram, but you want to have a presence there, make sure that all your branding is the same across all platforms. And then on your Instagram account, just have all of the great things that you feel sell you and your brand as an artist on there. So that if somebody wants to find you on Instagram because that's their preferred social media site, you've still got a presence there. They can see how amazing you are. They can hear how amazing you are. And then just put somewhere on your Instagram page, if you want to get more regular updates from me, go onto my Facebook. Just direct them to where they want to go, because fans will follow you to a certain extent. If they're that interested, they will follow you. So even though social media can be really overwhelming, focus on where your fans are, and then with your other accounts, just make sure you've got something there so that if somebody wants to find you on that platform, they can find you, and then you can direct them to where they can get the most out of their relationship with you.
Good advice. So what are the platforms of your choice, Joanna? Do you feel about the same way as Mary-Jess, or are you using other platforms as well?
Well, I feel like they all have different personalities to me, and they all do slightly different jobs in terms of career. So I think absolutely Facebook is probably the one, because I think, if I'm right, there are more people still on Facebook perhaps than the other platforms. And I think Facebook has a lot of information about the people who have signed up and got a profile, which means there are very clever ways of targeting people and finding people. And there's lovely little things that Facebook can do, like share your posts, and the algorithms can be quite obvious. You know, if a post is popular, it will keep pushing it. I think that Facebook is really good for reaching out to new fans and also existing friends and family. Never underestimate them as an independent artist as your like number one tribe and go to. He'll forgive you for being asky. Please do this. Please, can you share this? You know, they are behind you. I feel like Twitter is completely different. To me, Twitter is a world of people who are talking more about everything that's going on in the world, like current affairs. And I think that's a place to maybe be like, oh, that looks like quite an interesting journalist, maybe. You know, she did an article on music, I'll follow her. Or, oh, that was something interesting I read, I'll retweet that and share that. And then, you know, people might be interested in it. I feel it's a bit more newsy. It's a bit it's a bit joining in with what's going on rather than sort of shouting about this is my latest video or this is my latest post. I also feel like Twitter is a really good way of reaching out for people who might be in your like in the classical crossover world, who maybe you might want to connect with but you've never met. I think Twitter's quite a good way of doing that, because if you tweet them, I think they're more likely to respond. And then Instagram personality is a bit more like, you know, you on your best day, like somebody's just like put like glitter and sparkles all over you. And I think Instagram is an independent artist, perhaps you are interested in raising your profile in different ways. I think some people have been quite successful in, you know, maybe because of Instagram, you're going to represent a brand or something, you're going to take some lovely sort of influencer type photos. You know, I think that's what Instagram is for. I think Instagram can be really good at building relationships. They may not be the sort of typical classical crossover genre fans, you know, you usually come to, but you know, with things like stories, I feel you can be quite you know, people can follow you on a journey and they can get to know you with the stories feature. I quite like that, and I think there's all kinds of, and I don't know if girls like agree with me, but I think there are slightly maybe unwritten rules about how people use them. And I think Instagram is the one where it's really considered okay to just be like, yeah, I'm showing off now, me on my best day, I'm doing this, and no judgment. I feel like a Facebook artist page is like, yep, you're following me, you clicked follow or like, so you're gonna get my updates, especially a little fan group on Facebook. You know, you don't have to, you don't have to be here. I'm gonna use it to tell you what I'm doing. About friends and family is a little bit like, I'm gonna pull back a tiny little bit, because, you know, because there's lots of people who have news on Facebook, and I don't want people to be like, yawn, yeah, mute. And I think Twitter is allowed for updates as well. Those would be my main three, I would say, of social media. I know there's others, but I think those are the main ones that maybe as an independent artist, people expect you to be on.
I personally just, I do not use Twitter anymore, because it was a platform that didn't do anything for me. I didn't really like the format of it. And I know that we've spoken about this in some of the Tocca talks that we've had, but I am not a huge fan of Facebook anymore, because I feel like they've changed so many things on there that the stuff that you're posting are not really reaching the audience that you used to. And I'm a bit confused, shall we say, as to how to use Facebook in the best possible way right now, because I don't feel like it's reaching my audience without me having to pay for things constantly, and I'm not really interested in doing that. And so I personally have moved over more to, well, I do like Instagram. I think that's a really fun platform. And I'm building my YouTube page, because that also seems to be a platform where they're really trying to help you reach more people. I mean, if people like, say, Tina Turner, they will find my interview with Christina Love, that played Tina Turner in the Tina musical, for example, or I don't know, but I just feel like there's something has happened with the algorithms on Facebook that has made it a bit more difficult to use as, you know, an artist trying to reach your audience.
I know what you're saying about Facebook, Victoria, and I think that's because the recent algorithm changes are really focusing on things that make us social. They're focusing on content that builds conversations. So if there's a way in which you can do that with your content, then it is going to be organically seen by more people. One of the best ways of doing that is by doing live videos regularly, because people do react with those. It does make it more of a social media platform. But the main thing I feel to bear in mind with social media is we've all got our various grudges with it for whatever reason. But when you're using it as an independent artist, what you feel about each platform is irrelevant. And I know that's a very matter-of-fact business way of putting it, but it is, because you want to get your message out to people. You want people to be able to find you on there. So you've got to be on the platforms that your audience are on, whether you like them or not. Because if your main audience are on Facebook and you don't want to go on there because you don't like it, or Twitter or Instagram, whatever, you're going to miss out on the building that connection with all those potential fans that are on that platform. So regardless what your feelings are, if you can just learn about the platforms to learn how to interact with your fans in the best way, then you're using the social media as the tool that it is, because that is what it is. It's a tool for us.
Yeah. Do you use Twitter, Mary-Jess?
Yes.
Really? Because I just find, like, I don't get that.
About Twitter?
Yeah.
I use it because one of my super fans is on it as well.
Okay, well, that makes
so I've been able to, there have been so many people at my shows over the years. And when I've asked them, how did you discover me? They said, I found you on Twitter. There have been quite a few. So it's useful for that, because there are certain tricks that you can use. And one that I've used in the past is I've gone onto a post that's had quite a good amount of interaction and engagement from somebody who's similar to me in the classical crossover world. And I've commented on that post, I've liked it, and I've gone and followed all the people who who have interacted with that post. Because then you're creating a conversation with them because you've also commented on it. And then you're able to start more of a conversation with them because you followed them. They're then able to have a look at your profile and see if they'd be interested in you too. And there is nothing wrong with doing that, because if they're not interested, they won't follow you back. So it's fine. But I've managed to reach out to so many great fans using that method. So when I say social media is a tool, that is exactly what it is. And I know that a lot of us artists, the reason why we got into this is because we like to create. We want to just be able to sing to people. And that is a marvelous thing when you get to do that. But you've got to think about how you can make it a career. So if you want to be able to sing to people and you want to be able to create, you've got to be able to sell that product so you can do more of it. And that's just matter of fact. So be on social media, even if you don't like it. And there are ways in which you can limit your time on social media as well. So something that I've tried to develop over the past few years is a working smarter rather than harder system. So when I say working smarter rather than harder, when we've got all these social media platforms, there are so many different bits of content that we could create for each one. But if you're constantly creating a different form of content for each platform, what else are you going to have time to do? That is a full-time job. And there are constantly more social media sites popping up everywhere. So what I've tried to do is, because I wanted to focus on my YouTube channel, I created content for my YouTube channel, and then I used that same content across all my social media sites, because not only did it drive more views to my YouTube that I was growing in order to be able to monetize, it also meant that I had content for all of my platforms, and I'd only created that one piece of content. So if you want to start small, you can always do one piece of content a week to go on your YouTube channel, to go on all of your various other platforms. And then you've only got to create one piece of content per week.
I have a question though, because one of the problems with YouTube videos is that they are penalized on Facebook, for example. So would you put your, say, because I know that you do podcasts as well on your YouTube channel, would you post that whole podcast on Facebook, on like, because Facebook wants you to post original content there, not post a YouTube link. So will you do that because you want people to watch it, or Because the way I do it, and I don't know if this is right, but the way I try to do it is that I create like a small trailer of about 1.5 minutes from my Tocca talks, and I put it on Facebook, not as a YouTube link, but I upload it on Facebook the way they like it. But then it points back to, like, if you want to see the whole thing, go to the YouTube channel. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I feel like since I cannot monetize my videos on Facebook, I want my audience to go to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, because I think that's your goal at the moment. You want to monetize your YouTube. I think it depends what you want. Do you just want people to see your video? In that case, if you just upload it straight to Facebook and it will just start playing, Facebook are going to love that, and they're going to show it to people who historically are very good at sharing videos, and it's going to spiral, and then you might get like 60,000 on your Facebook,
right? Which
is fantastic, and loads more people might discover you. But if you have a very specific thing in mind, and that is, I want at the moment to get my traffic over to YouTube, I think that sounds a great idea. I've done that. I've seen that you've done that. A teaser, upload it how Facebook like, and then just be quite secretive about the fact, and the rest of it's over. It's almost like you have to go to Facebook. The rest of it's over at YouTube. Don't tell anyone, isn't it? That's what you have to do, exactly. But go over there and you'll see all of it. And Facebook's like, what was that? You're like, nothing at all, nothing going on here.
Exactly. And that's because Facebook are trying to develop themselves as a video platform now as well. So I think they are looking at turning themselves into a sort of version of YouTube where you can monetize videos. Obviously, that's not going to come along for a little while, but I think that's what they're looking at. They want to be able to keep people on the platform as much as possible. So if your post does include the word YouTube or like or comment or any, you know, there's several words that flag up going, don't show this to more people.
Right.
So if you say the word YouTube, even though there's not a YouTube link, it's still going to go, yeah, we're not going to show that to. So sometimes I say it's on my channel instead, or when I want to put a link in the comments, I might put a star instead of the I of link, and then put full stops in between the letters of comments. I mean, I'm guessing, actually, to be honest, if that works. I'm going to do a bit more research, but with the I've tested a few different ways of saying stuff, and in the posts where I haven't written the word YouTube and where I have done funny things to the words link and comments, they have been shown to more people. So I've tested it like that myself. But maybe there is more research to be done there. But it depends, like Joanna said, it depends on what your goal is. So for me, I wanted to grow my YouTube channel because it is the second biggest search engine owned by the first biggest search engine. So you need to have a presence on there somehow. And I was trying to grow that, not only for that reason, because it can be great for finding new fans, but because you can monetize videos. And as an independent artist, you need to make sure that you're able to get money in wherever you can, because the more strings you have to your music business bow, the more resilient it will be over time, no matter what happens.
Yeah, very, very good advice. So one of the things that I usually talk to people about when speaking, especially about Instagram, is how you present yourself on Instagram. And maybe this is more pointed towards the musical theater people who are not so used to being, well, yeah, performers or artists as themselves, because usually when you do musical theater, you're quite anonymous, and then you go and you play a role, and that's what you do, and then you're quite happy to share, like, oh, I'm doing this right now, or you know. But what I find as a producer, for example, is that as a producer, if I choose between this great person and this great person, and this person has a strong social media presence with a lot of followers, I'm going to pick this person because I want to sell tickets. So one of the things that I think is really important is that when you post stuff on Instagram, I mean, you need, if you have an open account where people can find you on Instagram, it doesn't matter if, oh, but that's just my private Instagram. I like to show pictures of my dog and my food and whatever. Yeah, you can do that. But you need to be aware that what you put on there tells a story about you and who you are. So if you are a musical theater performer, for example, say you most of the time get cast as the ingenue, or, you know, like parts like Christine and Cosette and you know, these things. It's not a super great idea to put out, you know, pictures where you're like drinking wine, partying, like crazy stuff all the time. You have to be aware of what you're putting out there and what story that tells about you. So one of the things that I do is that I usually tell people that when you go into your Instagram, and I will show this, the first thing that people see if they search for you on Instagram are your 9 most recently posted pictures. And you need to, at all time, be aware of the story that those 9 pictures tell. If you are a singer or if you are a performer, then at least one of those 9 pictures have to tell that. If you're on a vacation where you're skiing and you want to show those pictures, you can absolutely do that. But make sure that you throw in like a Throwback Thursday or something that tells the person coming into your Instagram that, oh, this is a singer.
So to show you what I mean with the top 9 pictures of your Instagram showing the story of who you are, it will be the most current 9 pictures at any given time. So make sure you check your Instagram feed and see what it looks like. Some people go for a very cohesive expression where they use the same filter, where they use the same kind of pictures or upload them in a certain pattern so it looks really good in their feed. I think that the most important thing is that you always keep at least 1 picture out of the 9 showing that you're a performer or what kind of performer you are. If you're only posting pictures of dogs and food and family members and whatever, that stuff is fine, but either create a private account that is only for friends and family, or make sure that you put at least 1 picture out of the 9 need to describe who you are professionally. So here are my top 9 pictures at the moment. Here are Joanna's, and here are Mary-Jess's top 9 at the moment. Another account is from Hannah. She's a young Swedish performer, and as you can see, her top 9 current pictures at the moment this video was filmed was mainly from a skiing vacation, as far as I can tell. But what she does really well is that she makes sure that she still has a few pictures in her top 9 that shows who she is and that she is a performer. Another account that you can have a look at is the one from Judith Kaspari, the shooting star of German musical theater. Her Instagram is always showing her story, who she is, what she does. Here are a few other examples of good top 9 pictures. And that's something to think about when using Instagram as a tool for your work.
That's really good advice. I think when I was, you know, training for musical theatre and involved in musical theatre, it wasn't a thing, but it is now. And I think I've had friends who sit in on auditions and read in parts, and they're often saying that the producers, before the actor comes in, they're like, oh, you know, how many Twitter followers have they got? How many Instagram followers have they got? And it's really important to them because they know that it can help put bums on seats, which is their ultimate goal. So it doesn't surprise me to hear as a producer that you're very interested in their social media. And I think even if someone in musical theatre feels like their work should speak for themselves, of course it should. They should be able to go in, and if they're doing an amazing audition that gives the panel goosebumps, someone comes in and they're very good, but maybe they didn't quite have the edge of the other one. If they are huge on social media, that's going to be really, really appealing, because the musical is a business and ultimately they want to make money. So I think even though it might feel really against the grain, I think they need to, on Instagram, tell a story of leading lady or leading man, you know, which is definitely that if that, you know, they've got like hashtag musical theatre in their little biog, that a big, you know, a big musical theatre fan who loves the musicals will be like, wow, that person was in Hamilton, and look, that's behind the scenes, and they're in a show. And I think they have to be really like, I'm just going to use this, you know, to really promote the fact of what I do, and not be worried about it, because ultimately that is what's going to get them a job at the end of the day, maybe over somebody else and you know. And I think that's where things have changed. And I don't know, because it was obviously a while ago that I trained, but do they talk about that stuff now at drama colleges and musical theatre colleges, how to use
I
social
don't think
media
so.
to
I
get
don't think
you...
so. Because I go and speak to some of the musical theatre colleges in Sweden, or I mean, I get asked sometimes to go and speak to them. And they have no clue about the business side. They are quite clueless as to how to build your own career, because it's also a bit frowned upon. And we talked about this, Mary-Jess, about like the modesty, or maybe we talked about it in your talk as well, Joanna.
I
but
think
how
we touched on that, about
yeah, how
this.
Swedes and Brits are, you know, like, oh, we can't say too much about ourselves because we need to keep
Am I
modest
good?
at all time. Yeah, but Americans, for example, they're like, oh, I'm super awesome. I feel like we cannot sit around and worry too much about what all the other people in our business, or what everyone else are thinking, because sitting on the other side of the table as a producer, again, a lot of times, I've said this before, auditions are very expensive and time consuming for a producer, because you have to have, you know, an accompanist, you have to have, you know, a good enough space where you can have
the space.
And you know, you have to maybe get the director and choreographer and all these people, and you have to pay them for their time to sit there a whole day or several days. Like, that's nothing they do on their free time because it's fun. As a producer, you have to pay these people to sit there through the auditions. So what I do to save money and be as efficient as possible, both with my money and my time, but also the time and money for the people applying for the jobs, the people who want to audition for me, is that if people send me their CVs and photos and all that stuff, I will go and Google them or search for them on YouTube if I don't know them from before. And if I have to spend, you know, like 10 minutes trying to find something on the internet, you know, I will stop looking and move to the next person, because I don't have time for this. So
yeah, you want it to be very easily accessible. Here is their YouTube page with some brilliant performances for you to go.
And you only need one video. You only need one video that I can find if I search for Mary-Jess on YouTube, or Joanna Forest, or whoever. And if I find a video, I can watch it, then I can, you know, very quickly establish, is this a person that we want to see at the audition for this particular part or not? Because if not, then I'm saving both my time and money and your time and money. But maybe I'll also watch it and say, okay, she's not right for this, but I have like 2-3 other shows in the pipeline coming up later. I mean, I have a list now. I will tell you this. I have a list for 3 different productions that I'm producing, where I will put people's names on these certain shows, like, oh, this person that sent in a video for musical TV, or this person that I interviewed in Tocca Talks, or this person, you know, could be good for this. So that I collect people, you know, for the right productions. And when that production will be ready for casting, I already have a good amount of people that I can sort through and like see if I want to see at an audition. And sometimes I will probably just offer them the job without an audition, because I've seen so much of their work online, or So
they're really missing out if
they're
they don't
really
make
missing
the
out
effort to cultivate their
exactly.
social media presence.
So I think it's important to stress that we're not saying that you can't have a personal page, that, have a personal page, but have it set to private and make sure that you're secure and safe online. And then make sure that your artist page represents you in the best possible light, and make sure that it is easy to find, because it seems so obvious, and yet it's something that people just completely forget about, where they don't have the same pictures on their social media sites, and it makes it far more difficult for people to find you on their preferred social media site. If they've seen a poster or they've seen a headshot or whatever it is, if you don't have that same picture on your social media sites, they're not sure if it's you, because they don't know you. So try and make sure that your social media handle, is the same as possible across all social media sites, and that your pictures are the same as possible across all social media sites as well, because it just makes it so much easier for people to find you. And keeping your personal and artist page is separate is very important if you want to be able to post pictures of your food and your cat and flowers and whatever it is. Just make sure that that is separate, because people want to work with professionals. Doing these productions takes time, effort, and money, and they want to see straight away that you're a trustworthy professional person. And if they can see that from your social media, because that is going to be the first impression that they get of you most of the time, then you're already putting yourself in good standing to actually get an audition in the first place.
Can I just say one thing though? I don't mind if you have pictures of your food or your cat, because, that might, it makes me get to know you a bit more as a person. But if that's
not all of them,
if it's
not all
if
of
that's
them.
all of it, like I coached a Swedish young performer about 2 years ago, and her social media was just, like her boyfriend, food, pets, all these things. And this girl had done so many things, and she had understudied a bunch of really big parts in Sweden, and she was up for her big first cast show in a big show in Stockholm. And I told her, you know what, once the production company, and it was not in one of my shows, it was a huge show, and I told her, once the production company puts out the press release that you've been cast in this part, people are going to start searching for you. And if all they will find are pictures of you and your boyfriend, you and your grandma, you and food, and you, that's not very interesting to them. They will want to find pictures of you, like understudying Christine in Phantom of the Opera in costume, or behind the scenes pictures of you and the big star in the show, or, like clips where you've sung maybe at a concert and you put up just like a 30-second clip from that concert. They will want to find out about you and your previous career and who are you, and, they don't care about your cat. You know what I mean? Not at this point. So you just have to make sure that, as I said, especially on Instagram, for example, or the 9 latest uploaded pictures will tell a story about who you are. Will that story say that you're a singer? And another thing that this particular person had forgotten was that at the top of your Instagram, you can put a short description of who you are. And it didn't even say that she was a performer or a singer. It just said, happy-go-lucky blonde girl on her path through life, something like whatever, and I'm like, girl, you need to put musical theater performer currently playing blah 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 in blah blah blah, and then put your website on there, because you can choose one link. That and it could be your website. Right now I'm working really hard on my YouTube, so I'm pushing my YouTube channel on every possible social media platform that I have. But you can make that choice. It can be your YouTube, it can be your website, but make sure that all the information is there so that people can find you and find the stuff that they want.
You can also completely free. There are websites where one link will take you to however many links you want. So I've got that. I think my one's called Linktree, but there's many.
Oh.
And then you put that in the bio, click on that, and it will take you to all your links. So you can have your YouTube, your Spotify, your Twitter, current articles. The
Linktree.
One that I use is Linktree.
To bring it back to how you can use social media for your career, one thing that is important is that when you get people interacting with these things that you're putting up, is to reply to them. Make sure that you are building a relationship with them, because the way the algorithms are going on these platforms means that they are going to favor things that are promoting conversation. So if you've put up a nice picture, whatever it is, or a video of you singing, whatever it is, if somebody comments, make sure you reply to them, because not only does that trigger the algorithm to go, this is a piece of content that triggers a conversation, but it also helps grow that conversation between you and that potential fan that has commented. If you're going to put something up, if it can be a conversation piece, and the more real it is as well, that normally helps with getting that interaction, with building that relationship with fans and people. So that would be probably one of the main bits of advice that I would say, is make sure you have conversations with these people online, and make sure you interact with them.
Even asking a question like, do you find this, or have you found that's affected you? So you're basically really trying to make it a conversation starter. And I think if you reply straight away, I think you post it, you get a few comments. I think if you don't wait to reply.
It's normally within the first 24 hours, I think.
Yeah, do it straight away. Try and get the conversation going. Instagram even has questions as well, and I find that's really nice. It's like, ask me a question, and you think, I hope someone does ask me a question, but they do, and they ask really nice questions. You can sit there replying, and it sort of builds interaction.
What were you going to say, Victoria?
No, but I was going to bring up that it can get really time consuming, though, especially if you're active on several platforms. I mean, I will say this, I have probably neglected my personal or my Viktoria Tocca social media on Facebook for a while, because I've been building my production company, and it has been so much work with doing that. And one of the shows, or the one show that has actually built my entire company, is musical theater greatest hits show called From Broadway to Duvemåla, which was supposed to have its 5-year anniversary last year, but we all know how that went. And I think one of the reasons that show got so successful was because I was really, really active on social media, but under the From Broadway to Duvemåla page on Facebook, for example, responding to every single comment. Like, we did several things with that show that really helped, such as after the shows, we would go out and interact with the audience by signing CDs at the merch stand, for example, and talk to people. Most artists don't do that because, show is done, I just want to go back to my hotel. We all went out, to sign CDs and interact with the audience. And then when we would get to the hotel, I would make sure that we took a picture every single evening with, the whole cast, sometimes not with everyone, but I try to get as many people as possible in this picture. And, like at the restaurant or bar or wherever, in a hotel where we were staying, taking a picture, putting it on social media and say like, thank you so much, Malmö. We had the best time tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. And that way, everyone who had been to the show that night would find that picture. It's like, oh, we just saw them at the show. And they would start replying and go like, oh, you guys were brilliant. Thank you so much. And then all you have to do, like sometimes, the replies can be massive amounts of people writing stuff, but I would still take the time to at least reply with a heart or something, like, thank you, heart, love you, thank you so much, and that's how we've grown an audience for From Broadway to Duvemåla, who are now super supportive, and they will come back year after year after year while we're touring. And when the whole pandemic hit, I panicked because I was like, oh, everyone's going to ask for their money back, and, you know, it's going to be crazy. But I will say that probably 70% of all the people who had bought tickets for the tour spring 2020 are still holding on to their tickets because they want to see us whenever we will be up and running again. And I think, I mean, that's not because we have a good show. It's, you know, because we have a good show and because they feel like they know us or they're involved with us, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the one thing that I might regret a little bit, I think we've talked about this before, is that during those 5 years where I've been just building my production company, I have pulled out of my Viktoria Tocca artist page a bit because there's just not enough hours in a day to do it. And that's why I'm now also trying to bring everything into like Viktoria Tocca Entertainment instead of just like Viktoria Tocca the artist, because then I only have like one brand or one, you know, umbrella where all the shows and all the stuff I do, it can be sort of, you know, collected under this brand. But it's unfortunately it has taken some time to get all my fantastic fans and people who were following me as an independent artist to come along for the other page, because obviously my production company has been in Sweden. There has been a lot of Swedish going on there, and so I'm right now trying to navigate this whole shift into going from maybe independent artist Viktoria Tocca into hoping that people will follow Tocca Entertainment and all the stuff that I'm creating over here instead.
Well, what you're saying there is basically a way of working smarter rather than harder. Which is something that I said at the beginning of this. And it's a very important point to make, because when you say to people, just create the one piece of content and use it for all platforms, you will get some people who come back to you and go, but if I'm not fully optimizing my content for each platform, then how am I going to grow as big as I possibly can on each platform? And yeah, that's a valid point, but you're an independent artist. You're not a social media manager. You've got tons of other stuff that you need to do in a day. So you need to make sure that you're working smarter rather than harder, because doing social media like that and fully optimizing each piece of content for each platform and knowing the ins and outs of every platform is a full-time job in itself.
That is their job. Exactly. You're so right. Yeah. People have, you know, people hire people to do that, and it is their only job and they're experts in it.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're a one-man band and you've got to do everything yourself, that's why it's important to, if you can't use a social media platform all the time because you just don't have time, make it look as good as a website, and at least you've got a presence on there. People will be able to find you. Casting directors will be able to find you, and you've got a good presence on there. You've got good content that's like a show reel. At least have that, because then at least you are everywhere you can be. You've got a presence on there. If you don't have a massive following on one thing, at least you've got things that make you look good on there. And you can always write in the little description, I've got more of a following on XYZ platform. So if you want to see more stuff, come and follow me there. You know, you've got options with these things, but you can't do everything at once. And it is so difficult to accept that as an independent artist, because you're so aware that you are the only person working for your dreams. And you are the only person who can make them come true. And so when you've got all that pressure on yourself, it is then difficult to accept that you are actually only one person and there are only so many hours in a day and you cannot do everything. So you have to prioritize. So if you can, make sure that all of your social media platforms represent you in the best light, and you can at least be putting up one piece of content on all those social media platforms every week, and you're talking to people. If that's the best that you can do, then that's still blinking brilliant, because it's a lot more than a lot of other people do.
I think in terms of like musical theatre, probably some performers might think, but I've got an agent who's working for me, so I can relax and just wait for them to do their job. Yes,
no,
exactly.
No!
Yes, exactly. No, you need to take responsibility. It's like what you said. Ultimately, you're responsible for the dreams coming true, and how wonderful if the musical theatre performer does have an agent who's going to be really looking out for them. But you can't just sit back and just say they're going to do everything for me, because they've got other clients and they've got other things to do. And, you know, they might have, if they're super busy, they might have whole days or weeks where they can't concentrate on use, and there's so much that they can be doing, so that when someone like you, Victoria, is casting as a producer and comes along, like you were saying, all the ducks are in a row, and you're like, wow, gosh, that's a very nice website. I went to YouTube and there was so much to look at. They look like a great professional person from their social media. This is someone I'm going to call in. And that's something that you can do, that an agent just won't do that for you at all.
And I want to just say something about that. For me, it's enough if you have one good video, just one. You don't have to have like a full YouTube channel with, you know, like a billion things on it. You need one really good video that I can look at to go, is this a person that I want to see at auditions or not? Will I be wasting my time and that person's time by calling him or her into the audition? You need one good video. And yeah, I would prefer if it's on YouTube, but if you've put it on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you know, just make sure that you've put your spelt your name correctly, put the song title in there. You know, like if you upload something to YouTube, make sure you put your website in there, or your other social media handles in there. Same thing if you post something on Facebook, or I mean, I don't do it all the time on Instagram because it's not space enough to do it, but on Facebook and YouTube, you do have more space for your description of your videos or whatever you put there. Make sure you put at least your website there if you have one. So make it easy for us to find you. Make it easy for us to connect with you. And one thing that I wanted to ask you guys about is, I don't know if I did this, or I don't know if I've done this wrong, or if, you know, I should change my thinking on this, but I've been hesitant to connect my Instagram with my Facebook, for example, because I don't want to necessarily have my audience on Facebook see every single picture or every single thing that I post on Instagram, because I feel like maybe I would be swamping them with stuff. And particularly since we talked about, you know, how the different platforms are for different things. Like I will put loads of stuff on Instagram that is just not really suitable for Facebook. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about connecting different platforms to each other?
I actually agree with you, because sometimes if I'm looking at my Twitter feed personally and I see, for example, Victoria has posted a photo to Instagram and there's just a link, to me, that's not very enticing to click on that link at all. It's just a boring old link. I personally think, as we were discussing, they all have very different personalities. And I think it's really nice to tailor your content to the different personality of the social media that you're using. I do that. And also potentially you might not want to sort of post all at the same time. You might want to post on Instagram, leave a little bit, reuse that piece of content and then post later on Twitter, or then post on Facebook. But I agree with you. I think they all have different personalities. And does it look a little bit lazy? You know, you've missed a trick. If all it says is Victoria's posted a photo to Instagram, you've missed a trick of doing a whole new post to Twitter that might be really engaging.
Yeah, I am following what you're saying, because I would say that if you do have that one piece of content that you want to upload to your social media channels, you should upload it individually to each channel and not have it cross over, because it just doesn't display properly. You need to upload it individually to each site. I don't worry about posting the same thing though, because so few people see what you post anyway. Only 5 to 7% of the people who like your artist page on Facebook actually see anything that you post.
Every time you say that, my heart sinks. It should be that if someone has pressed like, Facebook will then show it to them.
In an ideal world, yeah, but if somebody's
not.
liked thousands of pages, they'd have to be looking at their phone for hours on end to see everything. It's just not possible. So when only 5% of people are going to see anything that you post, the more platforms you put that same content on, the more likelihood it is that people are actually going to see that. And so I upload it organically to each site and don't have it cross over from one site to another, but I'm not worried at all about posting the same thing. The other thing about connecting accounts is if you do have your Instagram account connected in the back end of Facebook to your Facebook Business Manager, it means that you are then able to put your audience of Instagram into your audiences for any Facebook ad campaigns you want to run. So I would say that is a place where you want them to be connected, but you don't want it connected so that when you post on Instagram, it automatically goes to Facebook or whatever it is. So the other thing as well is when we're talking about the reach on social media being so dismal and so rubbish, is try and use social media as a tool to grow your email list, because that is a huge asset. You own those email addresses. You don't own anything that goes onto social media sites. So that is one reason why it's really good. And the second reason why it's really good as well is because you are more likely to get people to see your message when it goes directly into their email inbox. You're not hoping that they'll scroll through and suddenly find something, because an algorithm is completely out of your control. Whereas this is more in your control because they've given you the permission to contact them. And so on an email list, the open rate is 30 to 40% of people will see your message rather than 5 to 7% on Facebook. If you can use your social media as a tool to grow your email list, definitely get on that and do it as soon as you possibly can. And that way, I would use the same content again to send to my email list, because it's just so great when you can forge a relationship with someone and keep that relationship going. And if you've got an important message to put out there, the more times people see it, the more likely they are to remember it. The more times, it's like when you get a song playlisted on radio, the more times people hear that song, the more they're going to like it, the more it's going to be stuck in their head. If they just hear it the once on a spot play, it's not going to have the same effect. So it's a very similar thing with social media as well.
And I mean, I will absolutely post stuff that I've posted on Instagram on my Facebook, but I would not want like every single picture that I post on Instagram to go on Facebook as well. They're different beasts. And as long as you can tailor your content to that specific social media, you can absolutely post the same thing to several different platforms, no problem at all. So I would like to thank you guys for having this conversation about social media. I hope that anyone who's been listening have learned something, and we will gladly answer any questions or comments that you put on this video. I know I will, and I know that these two ladies are very active on social media as well, and will most likely check this video and see if there are questions for them as well. But yeah, we do reply to as many questions and comments as we possibly can. In the description below, you will also find links to Mary-Jess and to Joanna Forest. There are so many cool apps and stuff that you can use to help you with your social media if you're interested. We will put some of that in the description below. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.